What if I told you that the vitamins sitting right there in your medicine cabinet, the ones you reach for every single morning, the ones you've been faithfully taking for years because you believe they're protecting you, could actually be quietly working against you? I know that sounds hard to believe, but here's what the latest science is now revealing, and it's something every person over 60 absolutely needs to hear. Most of us were raised to believe that vitamins are always good. More vitamins, better health. That's what the commercials said. That's what the labels promised. And for a long time, millions of older Americans trusted that message completely. But the truth, the real scientific truth, is far more complicated. And in some cases, it is genuinely alarming. I'm Dr. Ronald, and I've spent decades working with patients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've sat across from men and women who were doing everything they thought was right, eating reasonably well, staying as active as they could, and taking their vitamins every single day. And yet they were still struggling, still tired, still forgetting things, still dealing with aches and pains and heart concerns that didn't make sense. And time again, when we looked more closely, part of the problem was hiding in plain sight, right inside the supplement bottles they trusted most. Today, I want to have an honest, careful, science-based conversation with you about this, because there are 4 vitamins and supplements that many seniors take regularly, believing they are doing something good, when in fact research suggests they may be doing real harm. And then there are 4 nutrients, 4 genuinely powerful ones, that your aging body truly needs more of, and that the science strongly supports. The difference between these 2 groups could be the difference between feeling exhausted, foggy, and fragile, and feeling sharp, strong, and truly alive at 70, 75, even 80 years old. So before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I want you to go ahead and do that now, and please turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. We create this content specifically for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, and I want you to have access to every piece of it. And after watching today, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. If you find this information valuable, simply type the number 1. If something doesn't land right, or you have a question, type 0, and tell me what's on your mind. Your feedback genuinely shapes what I make next. Now let's get into it. Let's talk first about the vitamins and supplements that may be hurting more than they're helping. The first one surprises almost everyone. It's vitamin E, not the vitamin E you get from your food. That kind is fine and genuinely beneficial. I'm talking about high-dose synthetic vitamin E supplements, the kind you find in many pill bottles sold in pharmacies and grocery stores across the country. For decades, vitamin E was celebrated as the heart vitamin. Doctors recommended it. Commercials praised it. Seniors added it to their morning routines by the millions. And on the surface, it made sense. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. Antioxidants protect cells. So surely more must be better, right? But here's what the research actually found. A major analysis from Johns Hopkins University, looking at data from multiple large clinical trials, found something deeply unsettling. Older adults who regularly took more than 400 international units of synthetic vitamin E each day had a measurably higher risk of heart failure and a type of stroke caused by bleeding in the brain. We're not talking about a small theoretical risk. We're talking about a 20% higher chance of serious cardiovascular harm. The very organ this vitamin was supposed to protect was being put at greater risk. The reason comes down to chemistry. Most of the vitamin E you'll find in supplement bottles is what's called synthetic DL-alpha tocopherol. It's a factory-produced version of the nutrient, and your body doesn't recognize it the same way it recognizes the natural vitamin E found in whole foods. When this synthetic form builds up in your tissues over time, rather than acting as a protective antioxidant, it can actually begin to fuel what's called oxidative stress, a process that slowly damages cells, inflames tissues, and accelerates the very aging it was supposed to slow down. It can also thin the blood significantly, which may not sound dangerous until you have a fall, a minor injury, or need any kind of medical procedure. I think of a patient like George, a 72-year-old retired gentleman who came to us after a minor fall caused unexpectedly severe internal bleeding. When we looked at his supplement regimen, high-dose synthetic vitamin E had been thinning his blood for years, without anyone realizing it. He wasn't doing anything wrong in his mind. He was trying to take care of himself. But the supplement he trusted had quietly become a liability. If you want the benefits of vitamin E, the answer isn't a capsule, it's your kitchen. A small handful of almonds, a drizzle of good olive oil, a few sunflower seeds sprinkled over your salad. These foods provide the natural, mixed forms of vitamin E that your body evolved to use safely without the risks that come with megadose supplementation. Now, the second supplement on this list is one that may surprise you even more because it sounds so essential. Iron. Iron is vital for life, we all know that. It carries oxygen in the blood, it keeps energy levels up, and when we were young and growing, adequate iron was genuinely critical. But here's the part that almost no one tells older adults. After about the age of 60, your body's iron needs drop significantly. And for women especially, once menopause has passed, the need drops even further. Yet many seniors continue taking iron supplements, often in multivitamins labelled for energy or general health, long after they actually need them. What happens when the body holds onto more iron than it can use? The iron doesn't simply disappear, it accumulates. It settles into the liver, into the heart muscle, into brain tissue. And once it's there, it behaves in a way that should genuinely concern all of us. Iron oxidizes inside the body, and that oxidation process produces a kind of slow, silent internal rusting. It drives inflammation. It damages tissues. Research from the Mayo Clinic and Harvard Medical School has linked elevated iron levels in older adults to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, accelerated heart disease, and premature aging at the cellular level. Think about someone like Evelyn, a 76-year-old woman who had been taking iron supplements for years because she believed she was anemic. She was tired all the time, a little dizzy, occasionally forgetful. So in her mind, iron made sense. But when her blood work came back, her iron levels were nearly double the safe upper limit. That excess iron had been quietly damaging her liver and feeding inflammation throughout her body, including in her brain. She didn't need more iron, she needed less. And the moment she stopped supplementing unnecessarily, her numbers began improving. The safe and sensible approach is simple. Unless your doctor has specifically tested your iron levels and diagnosed a true deficiency, you should not be taking supplemental iron. If you want to maintain healthy iron from food, lean meats, beans, lentils, dark leafy greens like spinach, these are excellent sources that come packaged with fibre and other nutrients that help your body regulate absorption naturally. Pills don't come with those safeguards. And now we come to something that I find particularly troubling, because it is so widely misunderstood. Vitamin B6, specifically the extremely high doses of B6 that appear in many so-called nerve support formulas, energy complexes, and brain health supplements marketed heavily to older adults on television and online. B6 is an essential nutrient. Your body genuinely needs it, but the amount it needs is quite small, roughly 2 milligrams per day. And that amount is easily obtained from ordinary foods like poultry, bananas, oats, and fish. The problem is that many commercial supplements contain 100, 150, even 200 milligrams of B6 in a single dose. And what the labels don't tell you is that at those levels, B6 stops being a protector of your nerves and begins to actively destroy them. The condition that results is called peripheral neuropathy. It causes tingling, burning, numbness, and pain, usually starting in the hands and feet. For many seniors, these symptoms get attributed to diabetes or poor circulation, or simply aging. The real cause, B6 toxicity, goes undetected for months or even years. And here is the heartbreaking part of this. By the time it's finally caught, some of the nerve damage may be permanent. Research from the National Institutes of Health has specifically flagged this issue in older adults, noting that aging bodies clear excess B6 more slowly than younger ones, making the risk of toxic accumulation significantly higher. A neurologist friend of mine once described a patient in his late 60s who had been taking a popular nerve support supplement he'd seen advertised on television. He came in complaining of persistent pins and needles that had never gone away. When they tested his B6 levels, they were 3 times the normal range. The supplement he believed was protecting his nervous system had actually been damaging it, one nerve at a time. If you currently take any supplement labelled as a nerve formula or B complex, please look at the label right now. If the B6 content is anywhere above 50 milligrams, I urge you to have a conversation with your doctor before continuing. The fourth item on this list is one that I think catches people off guard because it isn't a single vitamin. It's the category of synthetic multivitamins. The ones sold in bright, colourful bottles, with phrases like "complete nutrition for adults 50 and over" printed on the front. These products are purchased by millions of seniors every year, and they're taken with the best possible intentions. The belief is that one pill in the morning covers all the bases. But when you look at what's actually inside many of these products, the picture becomes concerning. Most mass-market multivitamins are built around synthetic versions of vitamins, chemical forms that your body absorbs poorly, if at all. They often contain synthetic vitamin A in doses that can accumulate to toxic levels in the liver. They may include cheap forms of B vitamins that the body cannot convert into usable nutrients. They frequently contain artificial colorings, titanium dioxide, hydrogenated oils, and other fillers that have no nutritional value and may actually provoke inflammation. And because they deliver many vitamins in exaggerated amounts relative to what the aging body actually needs, they can quietly stress the kidneys and liver over time. There was a patient, a retired engineer in his mid-70s, who had been faithfully taking one of the most popular senior multivitamins on the market for nearly 10 years. He came in feeling chronically weak and lightheaded. His blood tests revealed elevated liver enzymes and vitamin A levels that were dangerously high. He wasn't eating poorly. He wasn't taking anything else unusual. His multivitamin, taken dutifully every morning for a decade, had been the source of a slow toxic buildup that no one had suspected because he was doing what he'd been told was healthy. If you choose to take a multivitamin, the standard to look for is food-based, meaning derived from whole food sources rather than synthesized in a lab. It should be third-party tested for purity and potency, free of artificial colors, fillers, and hydrogenated oils, and it should deliver nutrients in amounts that are realistic for your body's actual needs, not megadoses chasing an impressive number on a label. Now, I want to make something very clear. The goal of this conversation is not to frighten you away from all supplements, quite the opposite. Because now that we've talked about what to avoid, I want to spend real time on the 4 nutrients that research genuinely supports for people over 60. The ones that can make a meaningful difference in how you feel, how clearly you think, how well your heart functions, and how gracefully your body ages. The first of these is one that most older adults are deficient in without even knowing it: vitamin D3 paired with vitamin K2. By the time we reach our 60s and 70s, our skin has lost much of its ability to convert sunlight into vitamin D efficiently. Even people who spend time outdoors regularly are often surprised to find they are deficient. And the consequences of that deficiency are serious. Weaker bones, compromised immunity, reduced muscle strength, and research increasingly linking low vitamin D to cognitive decline and depression. But here is the nuance that many people miss, and it's critical. Taking vitamin D on its own, without its partner vitamin K2, can actually cause harm. Here's why. Vitamin D signals your body to absorb more calcium from food. That's a good thing, in theory. But without vitamin K2, that extra calcium doesn't know where to go. Instead of depositing in your bones where it belongs, it can end up in your arteries, contributing to calcification and hardening that increases the risk of heart disease. Vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form, is the traffic director that tells calcium to go to the bones and stay out of the blood vessels. An endocrinologist I know described one of his elderly patients, a retired schoolteacher in her late 70s, who had been diligently taking vitamin D for years and thought she was doing everything right. A follow-up scan showed early calcification in the arteries around her heart. When K2 was added to her regimen, her subsequent scans showed the progression had stabilized and her bone density began to improve. That combination, D3 and K2 working together, is what makes the difference. A reasonable starting point for most adults over 60 in consultation with your doctor is around 1,000 to 2,000 Taunton international units of D3 paired with approximately 100 micrograms of K2 in the MK7 form. And always have your D levels tested so you know where you're starting from and can monitor progress. The second nutrient I want to highlight is one that plays a role so fundamental to neurological health that its deficiency can be genuinely mistaken for early dementia. Vitamin B12, specifically in a form called methylcobalamin. Research suggests that somewhere between 30 and 40% of adults over 60 have low or borderline low B12 levels, and the symptoms of that deficiency are ones that many people simply accept as normal aging. Fatigue that doesn't lift with rest, memory that feels increasingly foggy, a mood that's heavier and more irritable than it used to be, a strange tingling or weakness in the limbs. The reason older adults are so vulnerable to B12 deficiency has to do with a change that happens in the stomach as we age. The cells that line the stomach wall gradually produce less of a protein called intrinsic factor, which is essential for absorbing B12 from food. This means that even someone eating a well-balanced diet with plenty of B12 containing foods like meat, eggs, and dairy may still be absorbing very little of it. The nutrient passes through without being captured. This is why the form of B12 you take matters so much. The cheap form found in most store-brand supplements, called cyanocobalamin, requires significant processing by the body before it can be used. The methylcobalamin form is already in the active state your cells need, which means it bypasses many of the steps that aging digestive systems struggle with. A neurologist colleague of mine described a patient, a retired firefighter in his early 70s, who came in convinced he had early Alzheimer's. He was getting lost while driving routes he'd known for decades. He was forgetting names of people he'd known for years. He was missing appointments. His B12 levels came back critically low. Within 6 weeks of supplementing with methylcobalamin, his clarity had returned to the point where he was confident driving again and his family stopped worrying. He didn't have dementia. He had a deficiency that masqueraded as one. If you haven't had your B12 level checked recently, I strongly encourage you to ask your doctor for that test at your next visit. It is simple, inexpensive, and the information it provides could genuinely change how you feel day to day. E2. Now let's talk about a mineral that I believe is one of the most underappreciated nutrients in senior health, and one of the most broadly deficient: magnesium. Studies from the National Institutes of Health estimate that close to 70% of adults over 60 are not getting adequate magnesium. And when you understand what magnesium actually does in the body, that statistic becomes quite alarming. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic processes. It regulates the rhythm of the heart. It controls the signals that nerves send to muscles. It manages blood sugar levels. It governs the production of the neurotransmitters that regulate mood and sleep. When magnesium is low, you feel it across the entire body. Muscles cramp unexpectedly. The heart flutters. Anxiety rises for no clear reason. Sleep becomes shallow and restless. And because all of these symptoms can be attributed to a dozen other causes, the deficiency itself often goes unaddressed. Several factors make older adults particularly vulnerable. Aging kidneys excrete more magnesium than younger ones. Common medications, including diuretics, proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, and certain blood pressure drugs, all deplete magnesium significantly. And modern food, even relatively healthy food, tends to be lower in magnesium than it was generations ago because of soil depletion. A cardiologist I know once treated an elderly grandmother who came to him with irregular heart rhythms and profound fatigue. Her previous physician had been considering adding another cardiac medication, but a basic blood panel revealed that her magnesium was critically low. After a month on magnesium glycinate, her heart rhythm normalized. Her sleep improved dramatically. She told her doctor she felt like herself again for the first time in years, and no new medication had been required. Her body had simply needed what it was missing. The form of magnesium matters here as well. Magnesium oxide, the cheapest and most common form, has very poor absorption and frequently causes digestive distress. Magnesium glycinate and magnesium malate are the forms that absorb most effectively and are gentlest on the digestive system. A dose of 200 to 400 milligrams per day is where most adults find benefit, though as always speak with your doctor about what's appropriate for your specific situation and medication list. And now the fourth nutrient, one that I believe deserves its own chapter in the story of aging well. Omega-3 fatty acids found in high-quality fish oil, or, for those who prefer a plant-based option, in algae-derived DHA and EPA supplements. Of everything that nutritional science has studied in the past several decades, omega-3 fatty acids have accumulated perhaps the most consistent body of evidence for their benefits in older adults. They reduce inflammation throughout the body. They keep the walls of the arteries flexible and responsive. They build and maintain the structural integrity of brain cells. They support mood stability. They protect the joints. And a major Harvard study found that seniors with higher omega-3 index levels had up to 27% lower risk of dying from heart disease, along with measurably better cognitive performance. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at producing and maintaining the omega-3 fatty acids we need. And the typical American diet, which is heavy in processed foods and omega-6 oils, actually works against the omega-3 balance by promoting inflammation rather than reducing it. This is a gap that food alone often cannot close for most older adults, which is where a quality supplement becomes genuinely useful. A cardiovascular specialist I respect described a patient she worked with, a Vietnam veteran in his early 70s who came to her with chronic fatigue, memory lapses he couldn't explain, and a heaviness he described as feeling like he was thinking through fog. His omega-3 index, when measured, was far below the range associated with heart and brain protection. After 3 months of supplementing with high-quality fish oil, providing around 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily, the change was striking. His energy returned, his thinking sharpened. His wife told the doctor he was laughing again the way he used to. It was as if the lights had slowly come back on. When choosing an omega-3 supplement, quality matters enormously. Look for products that have been third-party tested for heavy metals, especially mercury and lead. Wild-caught fish oil is generally preferable to farmed sources. And if you choose an algae-based option, verify that it provides meaningful amounts of both DHA and EPA, not just one or the other. So let's bring this all together, because I think it's important to step back and look at the full picture of what we've covered today. There are supplements that millions of seniors take every morning with genuinely good intentions, supplements they believe are making them healthier, that the science suggests may actually be contributing to inflammation, nerve damage, organ stress, and cardiovascular risk. High-dose synthetic vitamin E, unnecessary iron, megadose vitamin B6, and synthetic multivitamins loaded with poorly absorbed compounds and hidden fillers. These are the ones to be cautious about, and I encourage you to have a direct conversation with your physician about anything you currently take. And then there are the 4 that the research genuinely supports for aging well. Vitamin D3 paired with K2 to protect your bones and your heart together. Methylcobalamin B12 to keep your mind sharp and your nervous system strong. Magnesium glycinate or malate to restore the body's natural calm and rhythm. And high-quality omega-3s to fight inflammation, protect the brain, and keep the heart beating with purpose. The goal at this stage of life isn't simply to live longer, it's to live well, to be present, to be clear-minded, to be mobile and independent, to be there, fully, for the people who matter most to you. The right nutrients chosen wisely and based on real science rather than clever marketing can be genuine tools in that pursuit. The wrong ones can quietly work against everything you're trying to protect. So tonight, I want to ask you one simple question. As you think about your own morning routine, are the things you're taking every day genuinely supporting the life you want to be living? Because the answer might be worth finding out. If this video has given you something useful to think about, please take a moment to like it and share it with someone you care about. A spouse, a sibling, a friend, someone who might not know what we covered today, but who could genuinely benefit from it. And leave your number 1 in the comments so I know this reached you. Your engagement tells me exactly what's worth making more of. In the next video, we're going to go deeper into something that affects almost every person over 65, but is almost never talked about directly. The connection between common blood pressure medications and nutrient depletion, and what you can safely do about it. You won't want to miss it. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care of yourself thoughtfully. Ask questions, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.